So today we've been focusing for the last like three or four classes on shape and the importance of shape and the idea that everything has sides, right? Even if you're looking at a rounded object and you can't really like my face looks, it's not a flat thing, right? You're seeing both the front of our, we're seeing both the front of our faces and the sides of our faces. And the important thing to know about this is that shading, which is our like one of our major tricks to create the illusion of three dimensions on a flat surface, shows a change in side. So every time there's a change in plane, we call it planes, right? So this is plane one to about here. You can see here the light coming in, that's plane two. Um, this is plane three, right? And then within the face, there are a tremendous number of plane shifts. This is one. You can see there's kind of plane changes in here, in down in here. If you can feel, you can actually feel the kind of bumps as they go up. If you run your hand down your face, right? You can feel the bumps, which indicates a shift in plane. So today we're going to focus on once now that we've focused on shape, we're going to talk about shading. And I know we did this a little bit with the lily flower. Now you're going to really understand conceptually what's happening. So let's start with here. I'll pop this up. We're going to start by shading a sphere, and I'm going to go through this here. So I would say draw just a circle, a basic circle. I know mine's a little flat. I'll fix that. I want to make this observation that people think you should get things, be able to do things right. I've been an artist for 25 years and I'm still constantly erasing. In fact, I realize kind of early on in these classes, I made so many mistakes and corrected them so quickly. People didn't understand I was making mistakes. So now I make a big deal of it. Okay, I didn't like the shape of this. I'm going to reshape it. So you should not feel bad about not getting shapes right. Um, I have a student who actually couldn't draw a circle. She really struggled. And then she told me she was a brilliant advertising person for Reuters, brilliant, like their top person. And but like as a kid, she really struggled with handwriting, and they just moved her straight to typing and computers. And so she really struggled like with this basic kind of manual dexterity, right? At brain to hand, right? Dexterity. So these are things we can't shortcut. All of this stuff requires practice. None of us remember how we learned how to talk, but it was years, right? None of us remember the pain of handwriting. I got to spend 5 years as a journalist trainer while I was learning to be an artist at an elementary school, and I worked with kindergartners, and half of them were like, they can't. Some of them were better, some of them were worse, and so stressed out about it, right? Like doing that whole, in fact, cursive is probably the best training for drawing. So there, that's my spiel. So what I want you to do is start with the sphere. I'm gonna draw little. So this is the sphere. This is the wall. And this is the shadow. So can you tell without us adding any shading what direction the light's coming from? I saw somebody go like this, but I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, from
From
left.
here?
Yeah, from left
Yeah.
up. Up.
From the
Yeah.
left. So, as we learned with the lily flower, the very simple rule is the lightest part of the subject is the one that's closest to the light. So, as the subject starts to turn away, we have um, a gradually darkening shadow. By the way, each time there's a shift in darkness, there's a shift inside. So, you're going to start. So, this is the core shadow. Um, it's probably the darkest. And remember, we have values from 1 to 5. So 1 is light, 5. It's dark. So this light's going to hit here, and this is going to be light. And then about here, the the sphere is going to start to get darker. In fact, there'll even be a little like kind of bright spot here. In Russian, they call it a blick. You know, it's a little like that's the highlight. That's like the first place the light hits. And then it stays kind of light here. And then it gets darker. I'm going to move that down a little bit. I think we have a little bit more. And I'll give you time to do this. Don't worry. I'm just kind of walking through it. Yeah, this morning my hand ain't so good. So you're going to see a lot of mistakes, just telling you. Right now, be prepared. Okay. Now I want you to observe very closely. We're going to go from a 1 to a 2 to 3. I'm missing one. Okay, moving this up a little bit. There needs to be 3 shifts. 1 to a 2 to a 3. One, 2, 3 to 4, 5 for the cast shadow. Because, and particularly right under here, you might notice in some cases that the shadow gets lighter, the cast shadow gets lighter as it moves away. But here, here is where no light gets through. Right? So this is the darkest. And then I don't know if you can see this. There's a little lip right before the sphere turns around. That's a 2. So that is, and this is key in being able to convey 3 dimensions in any form. And it's not something that we necessarily see unless it's pointed out to you. This is what we call, so here is the main light, right? This is the main light, but there's always another light source. And so in the darkest area of the sphere, right before it turns around, it picks up another light source, a light source, another one, and it becomes a little bit lighter. So our first, I'm just going to leave this blank, but you're going to start practicing with your pencil, kind of creating a 2 to 3 shadow, which then gradually becomes darker. And then kind of, there's a little light spot here, kind of a little bit lighter. Notice how relational this is. I can't really tell, do I have this light enough? And I also want my transition to be fairly, so I'm going to call this more like a 3. It's more like a 3. This is more like a 4. I want this transition to be smooth. Sorry, not soft, not so harsh. So I'm also kind of going back in and working my other side so that there's a shift in light, but it's not like super dramatic. And then my 5, my heaviest, will be down here. You can make it a little lighter as it comes out here if you want to. But it should read as dark next to this. And if you want to, you can go in and kind of try to create like a 2 here so you can showcase your highlight as well. So this is essentially what was happening when we were, I've kind of lost, well, I don't know, it doesn't look too bad. This is essentially what was happening when we were doing our flowers, the shading on our flowers, we're going from light to medium to dark, right? Showing this gradual turn. This is one of our main bag of tricks. I like to call it a bag of tricks. Our sleight of hand that we use to show something that's not really there. And notice how hard I'm working, that I don't have this heavy, that the transition is gradual. So I don't have this kind of crescent moon slice. I might, I'm going to erase that. So you can go ahead and do this. This little spot is the highlight. Oh, I forgot something very, and the light side. Forgot something kind of key in this exercise, um, which is I also want you to do the table. Generally a lighter, like a 1 or a 2, because the table's sticking out and also picking up the light, right? And the around the sphere, it should be darker. The wall should be darker. So the challenge you're going to have here, and in fact, maybe I'll have you do that, but anyway, you can do it whichever way you want. And there's a lot of different ways to use the pencil. The real key is when you put this darker wall next to this light, you want that light to really stand out. So I'm going to go back in and erase out my light. I want my light a little bit lighter. I want this edge, right, between this edge to be clear. Here, I might lose the edge a little. That's okay. We call that a lost edge because the shadow kind of comes across everything. And that's actually another key in making things look three-dimensional is lost edges. So we've got our highlight here and our main light coming in here. We've got a lost edge here. We have our core. Maybe here too. Maybe the lost edge. I think actually the lost edge is more here, right? You can't really tell the difference between the subject and the edge. You've got the core shadow, the reflected light. Yeah. I still want these edges to be soft. I don't want this to look, I want this transition between one to the next. I want it to be not like a crescent moon with hard, sharp edges. I'm actually using my finger to kind of scrub it out a little bit. I want that transition to be smooth as possible. So I'm working the edge between dark and medium to light. Oh, yeah. We'll start with that. We're going to do five subjects. We're going to do five shapes today. Um, because these are the shape. Really, this is the shape of the head, kind of in a way. Although the head could be considered kind of a square or like a also kind of rounded. If the light was coming from this direction rather than this direction, this shadow would scoot this way, but it's not. We have the light coming from this direction. So really, this is a relational thing. You're always, and this is a really good thing to think about with art, you're always thinking about the thing that's next to it and saying, do I have the right value shift? Notice that in art, we will often do what I call pushing contrast between light, medium, and dark. We might make it a little bit more extreme because that's one of the only things we have to demonstrate three dimensions, right? And we're not a camera, so we have to create all those. I find this stuff incredibly, I love it. I nerd out on it all the time. Other people are like, oh, geez, please shut up about all the different things. But I think this is an incredibly, you're at the beginning of this drawing experience, but if you take enough drawing classes with me, I'll be offering more throughout the year. You'll see how fundamental. In fact, you'll take this class next year too. I would recommend it after drawing for a year, and you'll be like, holy shit, this is even more valuable now than it was when I didn't know as much. It's as things often are in life, we spiral in the lesson. We don't like go from X to Y. It's not a linear thing, it's more like a spiral where we kind of come back to the same lesson, ready to learn different things about it. Has everybody, by the way, had a good weekend? Good. And if you have any questions, let me know. If you want to, you could draw the shapes first and then do the shadow and the table and the outside before you go into the inside. That is a totally legitimate way to do it. I kind of did it the opposite. You could do it the other way too, if you wanted to. And let me send a picture of this over. So I'm going to remove this phone just for a second. I'm going to send this over the thread. Okay, so here's kind of lesson one. There you go. So you can see it up close. I'm popping it back up again. No, there we go. Here, I'll pin it in a second, but you also have it on the WhatsApp thread, so you can look at it. I like how, Zoom is amazing for being able to demo, but you can't always see the details.
So just to check, Leah, the darkest shadow should be the casted shadow, right? Like the
Yes,
foreshadow, I
here.
think you call it. Yeah.
And then this
Okay.
is like the second darkest.
And that's the second darkest. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. This exercise, by the way, and the exercises we've done for the last 2 weeks came from a book called The Oil Painting Course You've Always Wanted. So the amazing thing to me is that a really good painting book will always include drawing instruction. This is some of the best drawing instruction in this book I've ever read, and also some amazing painting. But her explanations of drawing are huge. I usually have way more criticism of art books, art teaching books. I'm like, well, this works, but this is really dumb. And, you know, but this book is a phenomenal book. In fact, I'll send a picture of it so you can see it if you're interested in going into oil painting. Um, I don't actually oil paint anymore. I work with acrylic. I don't like the chemicals of oil, but I mean, oil is the old school way. And this was an instrumental book for me in learning how the sort of basics of painting. I also had some amazing lessons. Um, oh, cute. There's a crow out in my tree outside. He's very cute. He's just sitting there. I had some amazing painting lessons when I apprenticed with a Georgian painter from the Republic of Georgia who I met in Budapest when I was living in Budapest. He is now one of my best friends, and also he teaches a class after this one. His name is Lado. And if you want to hang out and continue working, his class is like a salon. We done a lot of talk about art. He knows, he's read everything, he knows everything. He's hysterically funny. Lotto taught me a few really amazing things about painting, including in Budapest, having me he showed me the concept of underpainting. He had me, and we started by throwing my canvases into a bathtub and getting them wet. And I was like, oh my God. Um, I didn't know you could do that. The paintings um, I finished from that project were bought by this young Hungarian couple who lived in the apartment across where my studio was. It was probably one of the first great thrills of my life that I had produced. I'd been working about 8 years by then and had sold work, but um, at that point, I was still feeling like an apprentice, So when they just kind of came and saw me working on the balcony across from theirs, and they came and bought the pieces, I remember thinking, "Oh yeah, this is it, man." They probably tell the story of the weird American girl who didn't speak any Hungarian, except more white wine, please, which I can still say in Hungarian. But pretty much nothing else. Um, Let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm just piddling around the studio. I'm here. How's it going over here? When you've got it, send it over by the WhatsApp thread. All right, where are we at? Send them over. Unless you already have, and I just haven't noticed yet here. I like the very peaceful expression on everybody's. Ah, I see you have. Um, Not bad, Sierra, not bad. Um, so you have an extra here. Can I point this out? You have oh, Sarah, sorry, I'm looking at Sarah's. So Sarah, you have an extra layer. You should probably just have two. You have, here, I'll pop it up and show you. I like your soft edges. I like your value shifts. It's really only one, two, three, and then your reflected light. And this should not, right? See, this is slightly lighter than this. Yeah, very nice. But I like the shade. Everything else looks good. Let's see, where else are we? Here, I gotta move this out of the way. Hey, I'm jumping into nice, George. Can you guys still see this? Beautiful. I love your soft edges. I love how this mark making you could shade this just a little bit so it's a two, kind of more like this, right? It's not quite so bright. This will come into play when we do our first drawing. And then Ciara, I do not see enough. This is not bad, but I don't see enough differentiation between this and this. Can you see that? This and this are the same value. So you really have to push your darks here and here. And don't leave this white. This is more like a two. Really, this is a very relative thing. It's good up here. But I'm kind of losing it down here. There's not enough of a transition to dark here for me. And this should be darker. Okay, spend a minute or two just adjusting those, and we'll go to the next thing. I'm gonna take a little bit of our last lesson to go up just a little. I'm flipping my paper over. So I very specifically do actually, let's take another minute for you to correct that stuff and then resend it over, and then we'll get going on the next. We're going to draw a cube next. I want you to flip over your paper and to its widest side. We're going to use our two vanishing point perspective to sketch this cube. And I very specifically did this because I noticed when I taught this lesson without teaching what vanishing points do, people could not draw this cube. And I'll show you specifically how. So this is eye level horizon. We're going to draw a cube that we're looking down on. So the eye level is actually above where the cube is. And kind of down the middle here, I'm going to draw a straight line. And then I'm going to draw two lines. I need a straight edge. I'll use last week's two vanishing point thing. I'm going to draw from the top of that straight line all the way over to this vanishing point, and from the bottom of this straight line, I'm going to draw this vanishing point. I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to put another vanishing point over here. If you have not reviewed this lesson yet, you're going to want to. It's on the thread. So we're drawing a cube where we can see three sides. Straight line down the middle. You want to have your paper as wide as possible. So flip it to the widest possible. And you're going to draw your first sides of your cube up. This is another straight vertical line, straight up and down. When you've got these three sides, from here, you're going to draw another straight edge line from the top of this vertical on the left over to the same vanishing point. And you're going to do the same thing on this side over to this vanishing point. Hence, you have a cube with appropriate kind of side differentiation. When I don't teach this lesson and we don't do this, this side is always super wonky. People can generally do this part, but this always becomes way too big. Um, so our two vanishing points really helps us here. When you think you've got it at this point, go for it. Send it over to me. And if you have questions about this, let me know. If you don't understand the words, anything, if you don't understand the terms, that's totally cool. Let me define them for you. What's nice about this idea of two vanishing points, we have one side going away. We have three sides, actually. We've got sides going away from the horizon in this direction. This helps us get the angles right. Notice these are not parallel angles. This angle's steeper, this is less steep. But we don't have to measure that because we all know it goes to this kind of diminishing place on our eye level horizon. The same on this side. This one actually goes two directions, both here and here. Beautiful. Oh, sorry. There's George's. Well done, Sierra. Nice. Isn't that like so much easier than trying to stumble through this, trying to make this on your own? I challenge you to try and do this without the vanishing points. It looks ridiculous. It's funny. Very nice. Once you've done that, you can erase these. And we're also going to set this on a table with the wall behind. For calls for a bigger eraser. You're gonna, people think perspective is awful, and in a way it is, but once you learn the rules of it, you realize, oh, I don't have to figure this out. I just have to determine where my eye level horizon is, and the rest will follow. And then, of course, we've got table, our wall. I think the shadow's coming. The shadow's coming from here. If the light is coming from here, yeah, the shadow will go like this. Be the shape of the core shadow. So when you think you have it, to this point, send it over. A cube, of course, is a much easier thing to tell the sides. Way easier. Because they're obvious, right? You can see them. By the way, all these sides are the same size. Absolutely the same size. However, they don't appear the same size when we're drawing them because things that are farther away from us get smaller and narrower. Just like that road we did in our first lesson, right? Things kind of seem to rise up off the page. So even though we know from a left brain perspective, these things are the same size, they don't look the same size. These two should be pretty close to the same size because we're kind of looking at them. We're standing here and we're looking at them from a similar distance. But this one looks a lot smaller. The shape is a lot different. That is perspective. When I first learned about this idea of perspective and foreshortening, which means that things coming towards you are kind of way more, and there's a lot more to this concept. Um, I told myself, and this was helpful, even though I didn't understand the rules as much, I told myself, as things move away from me, they get smaller. And as things come toward me, they get bigger. And really, if you can tell yourself on something like this, if these angles are not the same, which is what we tend to think, we think these angles are the same and we draw them back as if they're the same. That doesn't look right. So when you've got it, send it over. Let's see. Is your paper a little shorter, Sarah, than mine? I think it is. You
It's
know what I
very
would do?
long. Yeah.
Yeah. What I would do is that because this is fine, you absolutely follow the directions, but you notice how your cube looks a little elongated. It looks more
Yeah.
like a, the quick fix on that is to, here, I'm going to pop this up. Just because we're practicing and you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing wrong with this. You could totally do this exercise. You have followed the directions and could do this exercise in this way. But if you want to make it more like a cube,
Mhm.
bring these lines in,
Okay.
these verticals into about here, and then redraw those
Okay.
two and redraw the top. It'll look more cubey. It's wild, isn't it? It's
Hmm.
just so wild. All right, Ciara, looks pretty good to me. It looks to me, now I'm just being nitpicky. So it looks to me, but these are good things. Can you see this here? Can you see that your line is not actually straight? It's actually kind of tilting, slanting to the left as it goes down. So straighten that line. And then you'll be happier with this. I know it seems slight, but it's definite. This, if you make this vertical, this is a hard thing to do because it's easy to kind of want to go to the left. So let me actually pop off and show you how to do that. If you're using like a piece of paper, like I was, to draw my vertical line, I line it up with the, oh, look, mine isn't either. All right, so I can help correct. I can help do that correction for both of us. I'll make my correction too. How's that? So I line my straight edge, whether it's a ruler or a piece of paper, with the very top of the paper, which is straight. And then I know that it's going straight up and down.
Sorry to be confusing. I think I find it hard because I'm left-handed, so I'm like
Yeah.
covering my cube with my paper because I'm going the other way, my left hand.
That should be fine. It doesn't matter. You should
Oh,
still be
okay.
able to draw the straight line. It doesn't matter. I'll do
There
that
goes my
too.
excuse.
It's more about, yeah. I mean, it's funny. We all have these ways. You can do it either direction. It's more about finding the straight edge, which is the top of the paper, and then lining up. Oh, look, I can do
Yeah.
this again. It doesn't matter what direction you go. The key is this has to be lined up at the top, and then you'll see. And hey, just so you don't feel bad about this, look, I'm going to correct mine. They're not off by much. There we go. But they're off just enough to give this a kind of slightly wonky look. And we might as well learn how to correct that stuff. It's really easy. It's like kind of when we were doing that lesson last week, the first lesson, right, where we were drawing the road, and then we were drawing the fence posts. So the fence posts, I'm just quickly sketching this out. The fence post, some days you're on, ladies and gentlemen, and some days you're off. The fence posts all went to the same band. You could get these lines correct, but people tended to draw their verticals. I'm exaggerating like this, slanted, right? But really, this has to be a straight up and down. Otherwise, so we kind of want to slant with as the thing goes back, we kind of want to slant with the horizontal. It's still a straight line, that's true, but it's not a vertical straight line. It's a slanted straight line. So that's a skill that you get better at kind of seeing as you do this longer. Perfect, Sierra. Yeah, look at how well that fixed. Isn't that amazing? Nice work. It's amazing how we think this is a big deal, but no, actually, I just bring it in a little bit. This is also, drawing is also about judging distances, right? How much space things take up on the two-dimensional plane. And it's really not what you think it is. And if you can just tell yourself over and over again, what I think is happening is not really happening. When I'm translating it to two dimensions, it has a different shape. Then you're not as surprised but it's easy to make things too big, too small, too, little slanted this way. These are all very common drawing problems. And as you've noticed, I've had them this morning too. Perfect, George. Perfect. All right, so let's talk about shading this puppy. If the light is coming from this direction, this will be the lightest side. And then this is also going to be a fairly light side, but it's going to be a little bit less light than what's happening here. So it's we do a little tiny kind of two shading just at the top to kind of indicate there's a shift in plane. You don't have to do the whole thing. This side is basically light and this side is basically light. But if you look at subjects where there's a turn like that, you'll see, particularly where the edge is from the light to the dip, there'll be a slight differentiation. This will be, oh, by the way, I guess I didn't really give you the technical terms for this. Let me flip this over. This is what we call a half tone. That means it's halfway between dark and light. And this is, how do I call it? This is core shadow. So this is darker. This is also core shadow. But do you see that half tone? So if I use the term half tone, kind of says it's halfway between light and dark. And then, of course, this is going to be one of the darkest areas. Or shadow. And it's, the light cannot get through here. And then we've got kind of another half tone out here. Are you guys finding this helpful?
Yes.
Awesome. I don't want to be too pedantic. I have a tendency to do that because I like the description so much. And then you kind of want this the wall to be slightly darker than the core shadow here, or maybe slightly lighter. But one of these is going to be like a 5, and one of these is going to be a 4. Maybe I'll make my core shadow a little bit lighter because a little bit of light might come through on this side. So it's important to get the kind of surroundings because that also helps kind of define the subject. You help define the subject by the stuff around the subject, the background. Normally we don't, in a left brain, we don't think about the background at all. It never, goes into our consciousness. There we go.
I have a question, Leah,
Yeah,
about the casted shadow, the cast shadow.
yeah.
Where does exactly, because I'm not able to to make this like the
Shape
image bigger, but where does the shadow exactly bends towards the wall?
right here at this
Right
edge.
at the
Yeah.
same level as the
Yeah, at the same level as that edge. Excellent question. Let me send this over to you so you can see it. How's that?
Yeah. Anyways, I will have to change maybe my device because the battery is going low. So maybe I will have to go out and then go
And
back
come
again.
back in. Yep, you got it. No problem. But in the meantime, I'm going to send this over the thread.
Okay.
Here, hang on. Sorry, I'm probably giving you guys vertigo right now. Let's stop that. Um, let's go over here. Here. This is going to be key because next week we're going to draw a coffee cup. And I would like to make this slightly lighter, even still. See how I'm adjusting? All of these are planes. The table is a plane, the wall is a plane, right? These are planes where we shift directions. So I'm really paying attention to where my planes meet, where there's a shifting contrast. That is basically how you work on a drawing, from the major plane shifts to the smaller plane shifts. You start with the big ones, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you get to something you like. People get like all upset. They might spend all their time just trying to work out this teeny tiny little detail. And later you'll feel foolish because you'll be like, well, shit. Actually, the most important transition was between here and here. And I'm also, yes, verticals needed a little straightening. You're going to find that your capacity to do this kind of shifts back and forth literally daily. So don't feel, you can see today I'm like, I've been doing this for 25 years. I can see it when I do it wrong. That's the only thing that really kept. Some days I'm like just right on and can do it and not have to think about it. And other days I can't. So it requires an intense amount of focus. And depending on I'm a little tired this morning. I kind of had a late night, not a late night, but I worked on an event last night that went kind of late. And this morning I can feel it. My concentration isn't quite as normal as it is. So it's really not about, you can at any moment in your drawing life make mistakes that are basic. The issue is not to worry about that in any way. The idea is that you lay something down and then you're able to assess, oh, did I do that right? Is that correct? Right? Did I get that correct? So that's really the key in something like this. Guys, I'll be right back. Where are we at? I'm not trying to rush you, just looking at where we're at. Wait a minute.
Can I pop mine in the chat before I do any more, just so that you can?
Yeah, in the WhatsApp chat, yes, send it
Yeah.
over. Oh my God, Courtney Rosen is doing. Oh, that's so sweet. Oops. Oh my gosh. I sent this over. Oh my God, you guys, I'm so sorry. I sent this to the wrong, I sent all these things to the wrong. You're probably thinking I'm crazy. I sent stuff to Courtney Rosen and not to you. Here, hold on, I'll do that again. Um, that looks good. Ciara, what do you think? It's interesting, isn't it? How we convey. Excellent, George. Excellent. I love it. Where are you at, Sarah, in this process? You guys are doing great.
Sending a photo now.
Flip back over on this side. Great job. Excellent. Excellent. Nice work. Nice shading. Notice that everybody's pencil marks are a little bit different. That is part of the deal with this thing. What, none of us actually approach the material, use the materials exactly the same. We call that voice. And notice that I've had people say, "Oh, you're telling me what to do. I'm having to learn things, right? Like I'm very micromanaging, like what you're doing." The truth is, yes, I am micromanaging what you're doing, but the truth is also that you're still doing something different than me and different than each other, even if you're doing exactly what I'm asking you to do. And that's the beauty of this. All right, let's move to drawing a cylinder. And this requires, I want you, we're going to go to drawing a hollow cylinder. If we have time, we'll do, because that's like the most like a coffee cup. And actually, even before we do that, I'm going to demonstrate how perspective works on a subject like that. I'm going to demonstrate how perspective looks on a subject. So I'm going to flip this over here so you guys can look at this coffee cup and tell me, is the pencil closer to us, farther away? Where is that pencil on the mouth of the cup? Where is it?
Halfway
Maybe-
across.
Does it look like it's halfway across? Does it?
To me, it does, but I'm wrong.
So they look like equal. Well, I want to know why you say that.
Do you mean how far is it over the, like the
Is the
Like, to me-
pencil, is the pencil located farther away from us or closer to us? Or something else?
farther?
It looks like it's farther, right? I'm not trying to, was it Ciara who said that?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to, I think I'm not trying to bully you because you're actually right. But I want you to understand what you're looking at. See? So this is halfway. But when I look at it from this angle, it doesn't look like that.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean, like what it looks like rather than what your brain's telling you it is.
But I don't know why I think your brain was telling you why it was the way it was because you saw it lined up here.
Mm.
Yeah, because if you don't know why, here, hold on. Let me remove that.
Sorry,
Right.
I have a quick
So I
question.
don't know why you said that. Because but like you need to understand what's actually physically happening. So as things equal halves have different shapes when you are dealing with a rounded object like that. So the biggest mistake that people make is this one. Actually, I'm not, like I said, Sierra, I'm not trying to call you out because you got the answer right, but I want you to understand what's actually happening so that you can draw it, right? That's the issue. So people who've had a lot of experience in this class draw a cup like this. As if these two halves are equal. Get it? And as if this is sitting on a flat surface. But because of perspective and because of sides, this side always looks smaller. And this side kind of curves up, just like we did with the cube, right? Going to a vanishing point. Now I'm curious, Ciara, is why you said that. I'm like, how did it seem? Because it absolutely is right. Did you see it? Did you understand this? What was the thing that told you the cup was that this was lined up with the cup? Just out of
Because
curiosity.
you, I guess I could see the shape of the cup. So
Mm-hmm.
so the where the pencil was positioned,
Looks
to me,
like,
it looks like it would be halfway across that shape of cup.
and it didn't bother you that the back half was smaller than the front half?
No. Sorry.
You expected that? I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm just trying to get that. So maybe you already in some way know this. That is maybe showing a kind of, um, so it's a little bit like the light, right? We all know that when the light comes from this, we can kind of look at a subject and tell where the light's coming from. It's coming from the left, but we can't really explain why. Right? Like, so there must be some kind of, it's impressive. I've never had anybody answer that question like that. And I've had very experienced drawers come into my class who don't know that. So somehow in your mind, that was a visual, y keep an eye on it. Start looking at subjects and thinking, what's the halfway point? And see if you can guess it, because that's a really interesting, maybe you're picking it up without actually having it's like the grammar description, right, that we have of this visual. I'm not arguing. I'm just like puzzled because it's not how most people approach that idea. So it's possible that most people are bothered by the fact that this is not the same size as that, and they so they think they're not equal. But somehow that didn't bother you. Anyway, long story short. I'm mystified and delighted at the same time. This is kind of this continuation of the idea of sides on a subject. So you're going to draw two straight vertical lines, and then you're going to draw a curved line at the bottom, which is how it looks when it's sitting, but that's because there are sides to this cylinder, right? This is the front. This is the left side. This is the right side. And then the front is a little bit wider and kind of comes out a little bit more. And the back is, I like to draw it as actually three lines. It's shorter and then soften it. So you see these three lines. The back is almost, it's really kind of angled. So you'll see the halfway point of this cylinder is about here. Tiara, mind blown. I'm still thinking about this. I love that I can still have a student come and blow my mind. After teaching this lesson, I have never had anybody call that correctly. Ever. Ever. I'm impressed.
I think it's going to be the first and last time you're delighted by anything like, I think it's a fluke, and but it's fine. I'm just going to ride this wave of success while it lasts.
Ride this wave of success, but also perhaps observe that your visual side is trying to talk to you, right? And that is a visual logic thing. And the more you can, it's just like when we say, this sentence sounds right, but I can't really say why it sounds right. Now you want to learn the why of what it is. But that's a really excellent thing because most people are very kind of distracted by the fact that these are not the same side. And this is also, by the way, a perspective exercise, right? Like these are sides that go to a vanishing point, and these are sides that go to a vanishing point. Um, uh, because our verbal conceptual idea of things, right? That a cylinder sits flat on a table it does, but because this is actually a side, these are one, two, three, just like the cube. We just don't see them. We don't recognize it in the same way because we're rounded. These also follow that vanishing point idea, double vanishing point. It's like a very rounded cube. Okay. And there's a wonderful trick in this, another little sort of trick of the light. Let's see. We're going to put this here on the table. This is the core shadow, cast shadow. And we'll talk about how to shade this. Then once you get this, we'll kind of soften this side. And we're going to add a kind of lip, a second, because this is a hollow cylinder. Kind of like that. Tells us, what I can say this tells us is that we do have an understanding visually of what's happening around us, but because we haven't been trained to recognize it, we don't really know how to explain it. And that and really drawing is about constructing and deconstructing, just like grammar is about, creating sentences that make sense, right, and sound correct. So we have in some ways these visual capacities, but if we don't have the words to describe them or understand the rules, we get kind of we get kind of stuck in between that, like, oh, I think it's like this, but do I actually know what's happening here? It's an interesting idea. So this is a cylinder, which means that this is hollow in the center. All right, I'm going to. I will at least forward what I accidentally spammed Courtney to you guys. How do I do that? No. So strange. Okay, when you think you've got this shape, send it over. Sketched in these little, the plane shifts as dotted lines, which we will um, eventually erase. Like, actually, I'll send this over actually to your thread instead of somebody else's. All right, I'm going to remove the spotlight for just a second while I send a photo of this over the thread. You guys were very nice. You didn't even tell me I didn't send you what I said I was sending you. Very polite group. There we go. I'm gonna forward this to. Take a look. Pop this back up. And George, I'm going to take a look right now. I'm popping this back up. Right. Let's see. Not bad, Ciara. Once again, your verticals are not straight. Can you see how it's kind of leaning a little bit on the left? Here, I'll pop it up and show you. Almost there. Almost perfect. 99% perfect. Do you see how this is leaning in? So this needs to be straightened. I think the other one is okay. And this really needs to come right up to this line. So this shift doesn't happen until after this line. Other than that, looks great. Let's see. That looks pretty good, Sarah. Also, I'd say your lines are a little bit leaning. Definitely this one too, a little bit. And you can kind of soften that. Now, once you've got that sketched in, you can soften the edge so it kind of is more rounded. Nice work. It's those straight lines, damn it. They're so hard. I remember this one, like in particular, this one student kind of like drawing these lines on the fence post like this, and I kept saying, "No, you need vertical straight lines." She's like, "They're straight," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess I see your point. They are straight, but they are not vertical." So like, a vertical is the second level of this exercise.
Whenever I like write or draw, I usually turn my paper like slightly to like
Isn't that interesting?
and so would you it feels really weird for me to have a paper like straight up and down.
Yeah, do it if you think that's easier for you.
Okay. I
Do you
didn't
know
know if
why
I
you
could
do you
train
know
my
why
head.
you do that? Have you always done that?
I've always done that.
Yeah.
I've always had
Yeah.
slightly.
Do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it probably has something to do with your vision, and that's totally cool. You're maybe translating in some way.
I feel
Um,
cramped when it's like straight up and down. I feel like my arm has to come in more. I like to like spread it out.
so fascinating. Yeah, adjust it and see if it gets better for you.
Yeah.
Really, like I said, left-handed or right-handed, like paper slightly slanted or not, as long as you can create something on the paper that's straight, I don't care how you do it. Yeah, you don't need to adjust anything. Let's see here. I'm so fascinated by the ways this happens. Perfect, Sierra. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. A beautiful, beautiful cylinder. Just as an aside, as we're doing this, here I'll show you another way this is such a relevant um, exercise. This idea of identifying halves that are not equal. If you can see here, I'm dividing my face in half. And I haven't moved my pencil, but I've moved my face. And notice how different this half looks than this half. And notice also that this half is straighter, probably twice the size. This half kind of angles up a little bit. It's not like anything's missing, right? Oh, you see the entire half, but because I'm turned, it looks like halves are not equal when you draw them on the paper. And if you can wrap your mind around that, then like the drawing world is open to you. It's really wild. If you can kind of just sort of this is a half, this is a half, this is a half, we can see they're equal. This is a half, this is a half. Not only is it equal, but you can see everything that you can see on this side. It's just truncated and shorter because it's moving away from you. Isn't that wild ass? Like, that is just so like mind-bogglingly crazy. And really, when you get it, you'll be like, and that's also about perspective, those two lessons that we learned. This is not that much different than the cube that we just drew. And by the way, look, you can also see on the dark side, look, wait, I really have two light sources coming, so you might not be able to see it. There is a slight reflected edge on this far side before you go away. That's huge. Another important edge when you're drawing faces, you'll look at your own, you can look at your own face. See this little light line that comes over the top of the lip? You can miss a lot of different plane changes, but this is the one that really makes your mouth like it comes look three-dimensional. And they're very minor, like you don't really see them, right? What happens is the lip is coming out here, and then it's turning in. And then it comes out again. So it becomes this bottom lip is the light's coming from the top is slightly lighter. This is darker. Wild. So many things that this will be relevant for as we go forward. All right, are we ready? Everybody ready? George, did you send yours in? And I just haven't looked at it yet.
Yeah, I sent it.
Why am I not seeing it? Okay.
Because I think I sent it between the pictures you sent, so
Oh, got it. I'm sorry. Okay.
it's fine, it's fine.
Yeah. Is it? No, that's Ciara's. There, I don't see it. Can you send it again? Why am I
I
not
will
seeing
send a
it?
new one. Wait.
Sarah, I see Ciara. Oh, no, I don't see it. Or maybe it's, oh, I see it. You just went
Yeah,
really fast. Got it.
okay.
Sorry.
Okay. It's fine.
All right. So when the light is coming from this direction, ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your hats because this is fucking awesome information. Um, this top edge, right, is one side. It's very light because the light's kind of hitting. And this edge, just like the cube, we're going to slightly lighten it, but mostly this edge is light. This edge slowly becomes a kind of halftone. Notice I'm starting kind of, it really actually is more like light and then a darker halftone here. So you can kind of go really light on this side. There's really, I guess there's really three plane changes happening here. Sometimes you can see them, sometimes you can't. So it's kind of like medium. This is kind of a medium plane change. And then dark here, but of course also that little reflected light edge. So dark here. Know this magic trick. It will never disappoint you. I'm lightening this to like a 2, making sure this is dark enough so this shows up as a highlight spot. Because this is actually a separate plane, it's going down. The lightest part of the inside of the cup is over here. And the dark part is here. Does that make sense to you? You see why that happens? So just at about this halfway point, even though the light is on this side, because this is a different plane than what's happening up here, and I'm going to take my eraser just to really. Light is actually coming over here. So on an open cylinder, right? The inside of the cylinder is always the lightest side of the inside of the cylinder is always the opposite direction the light is coming from. And of course, you've got your cast shadow. Fabulous. I think I finally figured out how to like teach beginning drawing. It's only been 25 years. And then again, you'll do your light here, your tube, right? And your dark here. So your reflected light should show up pretty well against your dark here. This class, I've always taught this in a different order, and now I'm really starting to understand why we need this order in the way it's. Who knows? I'll probably figure out something different by the next time this series comes around, but for now, I'm feeling very happy. It's darker. I feel like one of the things you guys are getting fairly naturally as well is this idea of the soft transition. right? This is a hard line. This is a hard edge transition. This from here to here is a hard transition. These are hard edges, but these are kind of soft edges. So this happens gradually, which means the edges aren't sharp. Voila. I'll send. And also, I think what you're seeing is that your background as a different contrast point can really emphasize whatever you're trying to showcase on the subject. So where it's light, I can go dark and heavy here, and that will really, pop my light out. Much better than light on a white piece of paper. George, I hope you're seeing the value of how you look at things right now, because you will be at a great advantage for this. I think your sense, because of your color blindness, I think your sense of value is very cute. You're going to see these shifts, and probably more than other people, because that's what you see is, darkness or lightness. So this can be a real advantage. I'm going to take a picture of this. So hang on, I'm going to remove the spotlight for just a second. Take a picture. Ah, I did it again. Oh, poor Courtney. I just keep bugging her by sending her things she doesn't really need. Do that again. Okay. Let's do that again. Here you go. And then I'll pop this back up. Yeah. So you guys have a copy of it across the thread. Sarah, are you finding that tilt is helping you a little bit, slanting it?
Yeah, I just
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. All right, as long as that works for you,
But
that's fine
I'll
with me.
keep trying different ways. Like I was trying to keep it straight and seeing how that worked.
Well, try it, but work with what works for you. This is in this way, it's flexible. Whatever
Yeah.
works for you, right? Nothing is really a deficit. Being left-handed is not a deficit. Being colorblind is not a deficit. And having to tilt things a little bit is not a deficit. It's just kind of how we've learned to adjust to how we see things. And not everybody sees things exactly the same. So we generally, our eye brain patterns seem to develop in a similar way. I mean, if you ever want to really read a book about how the eye works, it's freaking insane. I mean, it takes a lot of picture. It's very tied in with our left brain. It takes pictures. It helps us determine kind of, we sort of guess what we're looking at based on just enough information, right? Which is why the left brain doesn't really like things when we construct from big images. It doesn't like that. It wants more information. Um, Artists who really played around with that, Cezanne, Matisse, really played around with there's a wonderful book called Proust Was a Neuroscientist, and it's a guy who connects uh, a lot of what we know about the brain now, and artists exploring that idea. So how few lines can you get in and somebody will know what you're drawing? If you remember from the very beginning when we were drawing the bird, this just looks like a dot. This just looks like a circle. This just looks like a line. But once you add that in, it starts to look like a bird. And definitely, if you're not seeing it, that does it, right? Bird head. So, how few lines do I need before the brain can put a composite together and tell you what you're looking at? It's wild.
I have a question there. So I also realized I think it was in the queue.
Yes,
The shadow casted on the wall is darker than the shadow casted
you're
on the table, right?
the edge. Yeah.
It should be like that. Okay.
It's a lit, well, this, yes, yes. So this is like a 4 in this case. It isn't always the case, but that's the case here.
Okay. Okay.
Sometimes you might find it depends on what you're looking at. In this case, I think for the sake of the exercise, they do because this is slightly lighter because it's sticking out. This will be slightly lighter, and this is not sticking out towards the light. This is actually doing what this is doing right in here. It's going down. So it's not exactly picking up the light, but that will be different. You will notice um, a difference in a shift in plane when you have one thing going down and one thing coming out. There will be a shift in light, right? This is a shift and this is a shift because this is one plane going straight up and down, and this is another plane which is coming out. So, but it'll be different depending on what colors there are, where the light's coming from. But yes, in general, this is slight. It's darker maybe down here. You can make it a little bit darker down here, but yeah, it's still slightly lighter than the wall in this
Okay.
particular case.
Okay. So the wall would be the darkest point, the darkest shadow here,
In
right?
this exercise, yes.
Yes, yes, okay.
Yeah. And partly that's done so that you can really push the halftones that are in the subject itself, right? That is so that you can see them. Like this needs to be darker so you can really see these lighter shifts. That won't necessarily always be the case.
Okay. Understood.
And one of the other things I hope you guys get out of this exercise is that it's worth it to do it even when you're not, when your brain isn't all the way in it. Today, my brain, for some reason, is not all the way in it. But that doesn't mean I can't do it. And that doesn't mean it's not worth pushing through it. It's a little bit like going to the gym for your physical body, right? You go to the gym, and some days, I don't know. Usually I don't want to, but I know when I go, I'll feel better, right? So you push through whatever thing is. Lotto, come say hi.
How are you, Leah?
Hey, look at the beginning drawing class. I was just talking about you at the beginning of
Oh
class.
my
This
God,
is
I'm like a
my dear friend Lotto,
hi
who taught
guys.
me who taught me how to paint by throwing canvases in a bathtub.
Yeah, and the other places too.
Yeah,
Out the
and many
window.
other. Uh, this is Ciara, Sarah, and George. Ciara's in the UK. Sarah's in DC. Poor thing. And George is in Poland, although he is Spanish.
In
Uh,
Poland.
yeah, yeah. Lotto's
Nice.
in upstate New York.
Yeah, guys. Leah, I'm a little bit early, so I'll go downstairs, make myself a cup of tea, and join you. Okay,
Do it. That sounds
so
great. It's just nice to see your face.
all right. Okay,
Ciao.
bye. Should
So,
I get out? Should I?
no, stay in. Stay in.
Okay, I'll be back. I'll be back with a
Yeah,
cup of coffee.
perfect. Perfect. So if any of you want to, Lotto teaches a kind of an advanced studio class where people come, bring anything they're working on, and he helps them develop a kind of series out of it. You are welcome to stay in. It's delightful. It's a wonderful group of people. You can just keep working if you want to. Um, if you have time, if you have more than 2 hours in a day to do this, hang out and stay if you would like. Meet some more Reuters people. And I might stop recording here